Hello, and welcome to Course Correction. This is Michelle, your host. So today I sat down with Lolita Cornegay. She is a registered nurse who has several businesses, but we sat down to talk specifically about her business, Consume, a medical cannabis consulting firm where she basically teaches other healthcare professionals how to, become well versed in the endocannabinoid system and how cannabis can help you balance your body. And, we just kind of had a great chat about that. And it really put some things in perspective for me. Not necessarily because now I feel like I'm just going to go out and buy all the CDB available in Texas, but it just made me realize that, it is really important to find the balance. And over the last, I guess, like maybe 3 months since Between Us Girls, the podcast, the original show ended, I've had a lot of, I wouldn't call it turmoil, but I've been stressed. It's a lot to try to pick up a lot of pieces and put them back together and then say, okay, now this is what I'm presenting to you. So it's been tough. I still have a personal life. I still have 2 kids, a job, another business I'm running. And so, it kind of put some things in perspective for me, and it allowed me to get to the point where I said, okay, so these are the things that trigger me and make me imbalance. I also wrote an accompanying blog that kind of talks about me and, my shadow work, which I'll explain more in the blog. So if you're interested in finding out how to balance your endocannabinoid system, just go ahead and keep listening. And if you want to know about balancing your shadow, then head over to the website, www.betweenusgirlspodcast.com, and just click blog. The blog will be there. There will be a yin yang somewhere in the thumbnail that should tell you where you need to be. All right, so let's get started. How was your day? Good, I hope.
Yeah, my day was really good. Yeah, pretty low key. I got finished with work early today, so I've just been kind of, side hustling for the past couple hours.
That's good. So which one is your side hustle?
So I can't soon. So I am in the middle of transitioning to becoming full time with Cancun, but there's still a little bit more work I need to do before I can officially quit my regular full time job.
Yeah, I hear that. That's my chant to myself every day of just don't quit, girl. Just don't quit yet. I'm like, I just want to cut it loose. It's pretty
Okay.
hectic,
Yeah.
in healthcare. So I commend you on double duty or triple duty because I know you have actually another venture, nurse CEO.
I have 3 businesses going on, but luckily I'm 100% entrepreneur, so I don't work for anyone else. It's just that I'm trying to transition to making Cancun my number one priority instead of my other 2 things that I have going on. So yeah, I'm
Like,
always busy.
yeah, it sounds like it. So like, okay, so tell me how did you decide that Hansoon was going to be your number one boo?
So currently, I own a nurse case management firm in Southern California. And so I've been doing that for the past 3 years. But we specialize in workers' compensation, and there's really nothing sexy about that. It's just for me something that I've been doing for a long time. So it's easy for me to do and make money from. But I knew I didn't want to do that forever. Like, there was no way I was going to be like a case manager for the next 30 years of my life. Like, that wasn't my goal. So when Cancun came into play, I knew that I wanted this to be my legacy. Like, I wanted this to be what people know me as. Like, I wanted this to be what my kids know that their mom became known for. So that it all came from a vision at the beginning.
Okay, so what was it like when you got that vision?
At first, I didn't know what to do with it. I slept on it. I thought about it for a long time. And then once the vision became clearer and I figured out how I can monetize it, that's when I went into action. and I started just, working my butt off.
Okay, so what did you do first?
So the very, very, very first thing I did was I came up with like I wouldn't say 100% business plan, but it was a plan, like a mini business plan, kind of outlining my objectives and my vision and my mission for Consume and a basic outline of how I thought I can monetize it. And then I went to a business accelerator down in Miami for a week. And I met with different like venture capitalists and different people in tech industry, and just learning from them and hearing how I should pitch and perfect my pitch for my business. And it was just a really deep accelerator. And so when I left that accelerator, I had a better picture and a better plan for what I wanted to do with Consume. But the interesting thing was that Consume has evolved so much since then. Like it continues to evolve literally monthly as I work towards my goals.
Yeah, I was talking to somebody about that. I think it was maybe yesterday, and I was just like, I don't even know why I keep saying this is exactly what it's going to be, or any of my businesses. I'm like, well, this is what it is. I'm like, it evolves so much from the time you
Hmm.
start to the time I wouldn't say finish, but just as it grows. Because like even with Between Us Girls, when we first started, there were five of us, and we were going to talk about hot topics and girl talk and wine. And now I'm just like, no, I want to talk about some more real in depth, like what's really going on, like things that are more, I want to say deep, but you know, um, I feel like as I walk in my spirituality, I kind of start to connect with people who are doing more holistic things, like kind of what you're doing. And actually, somebody reached out to me today to talk about like colloidal silver. So I'm like, this is really cool. It's like when you open yourself up to, I guess, the universe for more opportunity, they just kind of start coming. And I think that's
Yeah.
like part of how the evolution comes of your business, because when you're open, you just never know what's around each corner. So, like,
Yeah.
what are some things you'd say that maybe you've run into that were like surprising, but when you kind of stepped back, you were like, okay, this is a blessing?
That's a good question. There probably has been, I don't know, so many things. Because this is what I tell people all the time. I'm a solopreneur, so I don't have like a team of people, even though I try to appear like I have a team of people that work for me. Really, I don't. and so,
Yeah,
um, and so, and so, a lot of times, I think I have this wonderful idea, and everyone's gonna love this idea, right? And then I launch the idea or I do whatever I'm thinking, and then nobody cares. Like when
right,
you have those type of situations, that's when you're like, oh my God, what do I do? It feels like you're hitting a brick wall because in your mind, you're doing everything that you can, and you're coming up with innovative ideas, and you're trying to, initiate everything that you come up with. But then when the public or when the people that you're trying to impress, they really just don't receive it how you want them to receive it, then you become kind of sad. You kind of get discouraged a little bit. So I think when that kind of thing happen, you have to just stay focused and say, well, if that didn't work, the next thing might. And you just have to keep going. That's all I do is I just keep reinventing and innovating all the time.
wow, it's really crazy that you would say that, because I just hung up with somebody, and I was, I'm a single mom and I have two businesses plus a full-time job and life. And I was like, man, I just feel like it's so heavy. Like, how am I carrying all of it? But it's really important, like you said, to just kind of say, okay, well, if that didn't work, something else is going to work. That
Hmm.
is
Hmm.
crazy. I'm telling you, the universe would just be sending me people.
But I love that you say that because it's so true. I feel like when you're walking in your purpose, it becomes easier. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
like you were saying, like certain doors open. Sometimes it's a window. It may not be a full door, but you just have to pay attention to the signs.
right. And I think that's one thing that I wouldn't say just women, but people, like when you say, listen, like look at the signs, or just like your intuition almost telling you, hey, move that direction. Would you say that you
Hmm.
listen to your intuition regularly?
every single day. Like I'm not that religious, but I'm very spiritual. And the intuition is, your inner God telling you exactly what you need to do, and you need to pay attention to that. And it's so I call it just following my hunches. I follow every hunch that I get.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Like, I'll say this about myself. I always try anything new. Like if something comes up and I'm like, well, I'm a little scared of that, I just say, you know what, this is probably something that maybe I need to learn how to do it. So I just, I go
Hmm.
after it. But I think a lot of people, they run into situations like that and they're like, well, I'm not good enough at that, or, I've never been good at that kind of thing. And then they start comparing themselves to other people. And I saw one of your posts that said, like, I think it was something like, don't compare yourself to other people. Maybe like a couple days ago you posted it. And
Yeah, it said I will not compare myself to people on Instagram.
right, right. And actually, I was talking to a friend yesterday, one of my clients actually, and she was just saying, "Oh, these people are my competition," and I was like, "Girl, no, because your business is distinct. You know what I mean? I feel like there is no true competition outside of you working against yourself or the goal that you have for yourself. So, like, how do you keep yourself from making those comparisons? Are you there? Uh-oh. I feel like maybe I lost you. Hello? Are you there again? Oh, I think I lost you again.
No, I'm here. Hello.
Oh, okay, okay, okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. Did you hear what I was saying before I hung up on accident?
It cut off in the middle of your statement.
Okay, I think I was saying that I was talking to a client the other day and she was talking about her competition. And I was just telling her that I felt like there was no real competition among yourself and others, but only between yourself and the goal that you set. So, like, you might be competing against your future self as opposed to others. So my question to you was, how do you keep yourself from making those comparisons between yourself and other people who maybe have businesses that are, I wouldn't say they're similar because I don't, I don't think any
No,
business is
this
probably just like yours.
girl, this is time. This is so timely that you bring this up. Because I believe the same thing that you believe. I don't believe that there's a such thing as competition because what's meant for you is meant for you, like point blank, period. You know what I mean? But someone just came on the scene who literally like copied my whole marketing and program. And she
Wow.
started posting it on Facebook today. I know. She literally copied down pretty much everything from my website and started posting it on Facebook today. And then people were messaging me and saying, "Oh my God, have you seen this? Have you seen this? Have you seen this?" And at first I was really upset, but then I was just like, first of all, there's no competition. Second of all, I've been building my business for years. This is not something that I just woke up with today and decided to do. And so
Mhm.
she can try to duplicate me, but she will never imitate me. You know what I mean? Like whatever
Yeah.
she's doing has nothing. It can't even compare. Like in my mind, I'm just like, who are you and what are you trying to do? Because when you build something off of trying to imitate someone else, it will never be as successful as the original. Like how many people try to imitate McDonald's French fries, but they can't do it, because McDonald's will always be McDonald's.
Yeah, I agree. And I think I listen to a lot of like personal development stuff. And Earl Nightingale, he says that, well, said because he's long past, but he said that most people, when they go into business, they pick a business that is doing really well and they copy them exactly.
Hmm.
And I just feel
Hmm.
like that is really the wrong way for you to become successful because authenticity is what will draw people to you.
Hmm.
Whatever it is that you're selling, if you sell it as yourself, the right audience will say, that is my tribe, as opposed to, because this person who's copied you now is only going to be collecting your people, right? people who are looking for exactly what you're selling. So when she gets there and she starts talking, they're going to be like, well, this is not what I thought it was because she's not Lolita.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. Yes, one of my mentors said that to me. She said, people are buying you, essentially. Like, no, like they could, like, for any type of information out there, if you wanted to know how to trade stocks in the stock market, say for instance, you can sit down and self-teach yourself. You can read a whole bunch of books and you can watch a whole bunch of YouTube videos and try to figure it out yourself. Or you can pay for someone who you trust, someone who you believe knows what they're talking about, to teach you the information. So essentially, you're buying that person's knowledge, right? Instead of trying to get the knowledge yourself. And the same thing goes for what I'm doing in my business. Like, they're paying for me because I'm unique in what I have to offer, no one else has to offer. Where when someone tries to duplicate or imitate that, they're not me. So I'm not even concerned, not even concerned
Exactly.
about it.
Exactly. Man, and that's so great. I think I'm glad that you and I connected and that we're able to have this conversation because I feel like um, we're on the same wavelength. And I think whenever I do marketing, I set out to attract people who are on the same wavelength as I am. So, what's kind of one of your niche marketing techniques you think?
That's different than the typical like email marketing type of stuff.
Well, maybe just some way that you add yourself to it, even if it's something that everybody else does, or if it's something just however you put your own spin on it.
Um, I think I try to make everything very personalized and real. So once I did my very first class, I asked people to do video reviews. And those
Hmm.
video reviews I'm still using today because people want to see what other people think. Like, there's always like this pack mentality, right? We want to do what everybody else is doing. And if they say that it's a cool thing to do, then we want to do it too. And so I knew that beginning the whole process. So I made sure that after every single class that I give, I always ask people for video reviews. And those go a very long way with getting people to pay attention.
Yeah, definitely. And that's not something that I've really heard before. Is people saying the video reviews are like their, uh, you know, kind of their ace in the hole as far as their marketing goes. So, like,
Yep.
let's talk a little bit about some of the misconceptions about the. I'm not even sure exactly how to pronounce this properly.
In
Endocannabinoid.
the cannabinoid system. Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about that because I know a lot of people are like afraid of it because they're like, oh, it's for potheads. That's like the first thing that people say when they see anything cannabis related. And there's so many benefits. So, like, I just want to talk about, some of the misconceptions. Like, what do you hear?
Well, see, I don't think I hear the bad stuff because everyone who I talk to, they already kind of have a basic understanding. So they're just interested in just learning more. You know what I mean? Like, I don't get the people who are like, well, what the hell is that? So I don't really know. You tell me, what are the misconceptions that you've heard?
Well, I mean, I mean, I don't listen to people who say bad things about my friends. So, I mean, I'm a proponent for it because I feel like I have extreme anxiety. And for
Hmm.
myself, I mean, the only way, I mean, here in Texas, like really, we can only um, do like oil, and that's pretty much it. So you can't, it's not like you can, which I did see something that said they were going to come out and, make it okay for more doctors to write scripts. And I mean, I would love to get a prescription because like I have severe arthritis in my back and, all these things that I really could be living a much more full life if I was able to have access to it. I
Right.
just think that there's a lot of people who are afraid of drugs. You know what I mean? So they
Yeah.
look at it like, oh, it's pushing drugs. But all drugs are drugs. Like, look at the opioid crisis. Like, you go to the pharmacy and purchase that.
Girl, yes, you're telling the truth. And that is essentially one of the basics for me starting CanSum is it's all about cannabis education. There's so many people who are either curious about cannabis or they know about cannabis, but they just need more information regarding how to use it properly and what to use it for. And there's really no place, no centralized location of information for a lot of people out there that they can reach. So my
Right.
whole plan and my whole goal was that uh, I decentralized the education. So essentially people come to me or to be trained, kind of like a train the trainer, and then those people who are located throughout the country, they go back to their communities and they give the information that they've received. So that way it's easily accessible all over the United States is my ultimate goal, to have people located everywhere that can give everyone the information, because it's all about going into the communities. Because for instance, like my auntie who's like in her 70s or 80s, she's not on YouTube, so she's not going to watch how to use cannabis. Like she's not on
Right.
social media. But if she had someone in her community that gave like a local class on how to use cannabis, she actually may go. You know what I mean? So it's all
Mhm.
about reaching people where they are. And that's like everything that I'm about is reaching people where they are.
Yeah, and you have to be a registered nurse, right?
Well, any licensed medical professionals can
Okay.
do it. So that can be like a nurse, a doctor, acupuncturist, physical therapist, etc. And the
Yeah.
reason I did that was because I just wanted the trust factor, because there's a
Mhm.
lot of people popping up right now, especially with these multi-level marketing
Mhm.
situations that are going on right now, and I wanted to differentiate the people that take my class, because I wanted to make sure that they at least had a foundational knowledge of how the body works before we go
Yeah.
into talking about the endocannabinoid system. Like I want them to fully have an understanding about receptors and neurotransmitters, and excretion and metabolism and bioavailability. Whereas if you just get anyone off the street, they probably wouldn't necessarily know all of those terms and how they work within the body. So I don't think that they would be the greatest consultants.
Yeah. Because I mean, I wouldn't be able to. I'd be like, well, I heard that it makes you feel like. So, like,
Yeah, there's a science to it. There's definitely a science to
yeah.
it.
So, can you explain a little bit of it? Like, just a little bit of
Yeah.
the science, like how it works in your body?
Oh, absolutely. So this is the cool thing that gets everybody who takes my class. Is that every single creature except for insects have an endocannabinoid system. You've heard of like the nervous system, the central nervous system. Well, we all have the endocannabinoid system, but it wasn't discovered until 1992. And that's why not too many people actually know about it, because there's still a lot of research to be done. But essentially, the endocannabinoid system is how our brain communicates with our bodies. It's just that
Oh,
simple.
wow.
So there's yeah, so and it regulates every critical process that we need. It regulates our thinking, our sleeping, our pain, our pleasure. Like it regulates everything that goes on, because the whole point of the endocannabinoid system is homeostasis within your body. That just means it always tries to make sure your body stays level in balance all the time.
Mhm.
That's the whole purpose of it. And so what happens with a lot of people is that our bodies aren't balanced for various
Mhm.
reasons. We have different high blood pressure, or you have anxiety, or you have whatever. So you're out of balance, right? And
Mhm.
so that means that you're deficient in some of your cannabinoids that our body produces on their own. So what cannabis does is cannabis mimics the same process as the cannabinoids that our body produces. So when you introduce cannabis into your body, it helps to balance out that deficiency that you have, essentially. So essentially that's all we're doing. We're trying to balance out your system so that you won't have to take those pharmaceutical drugs that try to balance out your system. We're just replacing
Mhm.
something that is man-made with something that is earth-made.
Yeah, I dig that. And I'll tell you why, because I took Zoloft for a long time for my anxiety.
Hmm.
And yeah, I felt like, you know, less anxious, but I also felt very zombified, if that makes
Yep.
sense. Like I
Oh,
wasn't
it
able
does.
to, I mean, you can't feel, there's no like happy. You're not going to be stressed, but you're also probably not going to feel too. joyful either. So it would
Yeah.
just be a delight to be able to say, okay, well, so like what would you suggest to somebody who maybe has anxiety?
Well, so here's the thing. Like you say, the full, what we call full spectrum cannabis, meaning that it has everything that's possibly in it from THC to CBD to all of the other cannabinoids. It's not
Mhm.
available everywhere, right?
Right,
However, CBD only is starting to be available. Well, hemp, CBD from hemp is available
right,
nationwide. So if you only have access to the CBD from hemp, then take it. It will
yeah,
definitely help you. It will definitely help to improve. But here's the thing that you have to think about. You have to think about the source or who's producing or manufacturing that product, because not all products are equal. So you can get some hemp CBD that is full of crap.
yeah.
Seriously, and it will not
Oh, I
benefit
bought
you. It will
some.
not help you. Right. You have to be careful. So you really have to be make sure wherever you're getting it from, it has lab testing that comes with it so that you can see that it was tested in the lab and it's free of pesticides, it's free of fungus, it's free of all of the bad stuff, and then it only has the CBD in it. And a lot of people don't realize that they need to be that vigilant when they're just buying CBD. They think they can just buy it and it's done with, but it gets a little bit more complicated. However, I recommend that if you do have access, if you are in a state where you can get THC, then I do recommend that you add a little bit of the THC to the CBD that you're taking, because they have what's called an entourage effect, meaning that when you use them both together, they have a greater benefit than when you use them separately. So I always try to recommend using the whole plant, but if you don't have access to the whole plant, CBD from a trusted source is very beneficial.
So, like, I went to Las Vegas last year and I
Hmm.
did go to a dispensary and I saw that there were some CDB strains and some THC strains and then some that had both. So,
Yeah.
like, a hybrid is something that you like would suggest if you can have, let me stress if you
Right.
have
If.
access in a state. I don't want anybody coming showing up at my house and be like, I can't take it. So, but yeah, like, so like a hybrid, something that has like the whole plant. Okay, that makes
Right,
sense.
yeah. And then the other thing is to think about ratios,
Hmm.
because it gets even a little bit more confusing for people who've never been in a dispensary before. If
Right.
you're looking at products, so I separate things into like flower and products. So
Hmm.
flower is when you see like the dried cannabis, right? You know, that people crumble up and they smoke or whatever, right? But then we have
I've
products,
never
and
seen it.
products.
I'm just kidding.
Hilarious. Okay, and so then products are everything else. So products are like like the edibles, the creams, the
Yep.
lotions, the oils, the blood, all the tinctures, all that type of stuff. Those are their products. So when you think about the products, they have ratios. So you can have a 1-to-1 ratio, meaning is 1 part THC to 1 part CBD, which is kind of just like regular whole plant. But you can get very complicated. It could be a 20-to-1, meaning 20 part CBD to 1 part THC. It can be a 4-to-1, a 2-to-1, a 3-to-1. It gets kind of complicated. But the goal to remember is that you want to take as much THC that you can tolerate um, as possible. So for some people, they only need 1 part THC to 4 parts CBD. And for other people, they need a 1-to-1 because they're able to tolerate it. So it's kind of like you have to do some trial and error before you find your
Yeah.
perfect dosage.
And whatever your perfect dosages will help you balance out
Yeah.
whatever your bodily funk
Issue
might
is
possibly be. Okay.
exactly. Yeah, once you we call it the minimum effective dose. So once you find that minimum effective dose, the smallest amount that works for what you need to work for, then you stick with that and you should be good to go.
Okay. I mean, that is really, I feel like I'm learning so much, you know,
I'm
and
glad.
I really am. And I hope that, the people who are listening are learning too, because the thing is that, like I said, I mean, there's this stigma that surrounds cannabis. And I mean, I feel like my dad had cancer. He had bladder cancer. And I'll say that whenever he passed away, we found like a really nice sized brick of
flower in the garage that he probably was using, to because he was in a lot of pain for a long time because he didn't
Yeah.
go to the doctor before that. So he probably had a lot of pain and he probably just used it as pain management.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I feel like
Yeah.
how can we be saying this is wrong as opposed to opioids, which are running rampant in the street, causing white children to sell all their property?
Well, the answer's simple. Follow the money, right? I
Yeah,
tell my
that's
students
true.
this all the time. The only reason that cannabis was outlawed back in 1970s was all political, and it had to do with money, And so when we get different management in the White House who understands this, I'm sure that they will pass a federal bill. A lot of cannabis experts believe that within the next 2 years, it should be federally legal. So that's the goal.
Really hope so. Because, I have two kids that have diagnosed ADHD, and I just am on medication refusal for the second one because, she's 6. And they started that whenever my son was about that same age, and I just refused, refused, and refused, refused. And then they were like, well, he's going to have to repeat a grade.
Okay.
And that's what made me go, oh. And I just, like, even now, he's like, well, he's 14. So he's like, Mom, I think I want to get off my medication. And I really like for him to be able to try something else that would help. But,
Mm-hmm.
again, we have access to only like CDB only. And that's through like distributors or like, some of those MLM companies. Uh,
It is, but I'm working on a partnership with a nationwide company that is very trusted, and they deliver to 41 states, and it is not a MLM. So hopefully, I'll be able to come out with more information regarding that soon because my goal is to get what we can get to people, like the CBD, to people, and so that they know they can have good access to good quality CBD.
yes. And actually, in one of my Facebook groups, and this is like totally unrelated to anything that I do for business, just like a hairball group. And one of the questions was, does anybody know anything about CDV? Because people were talking about their anxiety. These are all moms. And
Hmm.
I just was telling them, I said, I'm going to have somebody on my show tomorrow. So, we may get more information. So this is like really great because I can definitely share this with the ladies. And, hopefully soon, whenever we're going to speak it, whenever you're able to talk about this and share, and, we can get the product, I'll be in line so that I
Oh,
can,
absolutely.
because my goal is really just for me to feel better and to make sure that my kids have what they need as opposed to everything pharmaceutical. I really want to try more homeopathic remedies and more holistic things because I think that, I mean, at some point, we're not going to be able to live this way that we live right now. And
Hmm.
people need to get more in line with the thinking that there are other ways. Because what are we going to do
Hmm.
when we can't run up to Walgreens? You know what I mean? You're going to have to figure out how to treat things homeopathically. Like I even made some ointment and all, and I was, like I'm trying all different things because I don't want to have to rely on what little government is left to live. I know that
Oh,
sounds like
absolutely.
conspiracy theory.
No, it makes sense. We have to learn to be more self-sufficient. I 100% agree. And it's funny that you say that because I believe in like prepping. Like I'm not necessarily a prepper per se, but I love the concept of kind of prepping for the end times. So I
Yeah.
watch a lot of shows regarding that, and I do have a go bag by my door just in case. So I completely understand.
Well, yes, because and I really don't think it's not gonna be like we've always been taught, like it's gonna be this amazing, like spectacular fire show. But I
Mhm.
think it's gonna be more in terms of the society that we live in is just gonna go bloop, 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 and just start breaking apart. Because they're not gonna be able to sustain the way that they've been able to sustain, especially once people start going, nope, and they start taking themselves out of that situation. So, what are they gonna run on when they don't have any energy to mine from the rest of us?
Mhm. I agree wholeheartedly with everything you're saying.
Yeah. So like that's another one of the things I'm trying to do with my consultant business. I'm just trying to reach out to creatives and people who want to create businesses or figure out how to, kind of break out of the system. Everybody has great ideas. They sit there and they're like, but I don't know how to execute it. So I'm like, well, come sit with me and we can, put it down on paper and figure out if I don't know how to do it. I know people who do, and just
Hmm.
get them going because, there's this block that makes you think that you can't be a business owner. You must work underneath the system, but you don't have to, like look at you. You work for yourself three different ways.
Yeah, you know what? And fear holds a lot of people back, right? And it's fear of the unknown because
Yeah,
their fear is how am I going to pay my rent or my mortgage? How am I going to eat? How am I, like it's because they just don't know. It's the fear of the unknown. And I know this sounds so cliche, but you just have to have faith in yourself. You have to have faith that what you're going to do will work out. But you have to also plan. So like I don't want people listening out there to just be like, well, I have faith that I'm going to become the next Uber and they go buy a fleet of cars. Like, no, don't do that. That wouldn't be a smart
right.
decision. But you want to make sure that you do have a plan in place. And once you and I always tell my mentees, you have to test the market first, right? Because when I
Mhm.
first started CanSum, what I thought was going to happen wasn't what happened, honestly. Like the business model has changed significantly over time because I had to test the market. But once you
Yeah,
find whatever you're doing sticks and it works, stick with it. And then that's when you step out on faith and you say, okay, maybe I can quit my day job now. You know what I mean? But you have to test the market and make sure that you can monetize whatever you're thinking about. And once you get past that step, then you can really put a lot more faith into it and kind of, leap.
yeah, right. I definitely agree with that. Man, this was a great conversation. I really appreciate you coming on. Um,
Of course.
will you tell everybody where to find you if they're interested in Canson?
Yes, 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 yes. So, on Instagram, you can find me at cansum_official or Nurse Lolita K or the Nurse CEO. That's where you can find me. And then also my website is cansum.com. All my information is there and it's easier to remember. So cansum.com.
All right, so that was our episode for this week. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And, if you want to be a guest or you want to advertise or you just want to talk to me, you can always do that. You can find me on social media, Between Us Girls, the podcast, or at MS Creative AF. Or you can send me an email, michelle@mscreativeaf.com, and we can get to chatting. All right, so I'll see you guys next week, and bye.